What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. Wanted to talk to you about a Jermaine Johnson injury update. Training camp starts for the veterans on Tuesday. Pumped up, excited to see all the vets start this week. We've made it. We've made it through the other side of the slowest season in the NFL. The break between mini camp and training camp, but we did get an injury update on Jermaine Johnson, so I wanted to talk through that. So the Jets announced that Jermaine Johnson will be starting camp on the PUP list, physically unable to perform. Now that doesn't really come as a surprise because he's coming off a torn Achilles, which he suffered in week 2 of the regular season against the Tennessee Titans. Now, Jermaine Johnson had a couple of comments on this. So first he posted a video of him running and doing some training, and he said, "Achilles who? All glory to God, man. For real, blessed is an understatement." And look, I'm very, very happy for Jermaine Johnson. Working his way back from a really debilitating injury is a very tough thing, which is why I've kind of wanted fans to maybe temper expectations at the beginning of the year just because of how that injury really affects players, and specifically on the defensive line, right? Like that's such a taxing position to begin with. And then add on top of that an Achilles recovery, he might have a slow start to the year. Now, I'm not saying like completely rule him out and it's a toss away season for Jermaine Johnson. That's not where I am. I'm just saying that I think it might take a few weeks before we start to see Jermaine Johnson look like the guy that we saw in year 2 when he was such a dominant player for the Jets. Jermaine did have another tweet. He said, "I will be on the PUP because the team wants to move slow to be safe," which I agree with, not because I'm not ready. All is well. And I really think this is the correct approach from both the Jets and the players side. Like, obviously Jermaine is a competitor, and in order to play at the NFL, you need to have a certain competitive drive, right? Like you can't just be a ho-hum, yeah, I guess I'll play. No, you got to be one of the elite of the elite. You need a crazy amount of talent, and you need to have a crazy compete level in order to make it at such a high level. And you get to a point as a team where you kind of got to protect the players from themselves. They want to be on the field as quickly as possible post-injury. And from the Jets side, they want to take their time with this player. One, like obviously they're a better team with Jermaine Johnson on the field versus with not, but they don't want to push him and make him have a setback because unfortunately that could happen a lot in the recovery process. Recovery isn't always linear where, it's just improving, getting better. There's going to be bumps in the road, and there's, whether it's practices or games or whatever, where it's just a little bit more taxing and the recovery from week to week might change, right? And he might have a tougher week depending on what they do, or after a game, how many snaps he plays. And I'm sure, again, early on in the season, I think he will be on a lower snap count that will increase over time as the year goes on. But the Jets, I think, are 1,000% correct in taking it slow with Jermaine Johnson here. I think this is the right approach, and they could activate him off the PUP list at any time. And, they and he fully expects to be ready to go for week 1. And that's the ultimate goal. Like, yeah, you'd love to see him in training camp, but the Jets aren't in a rush to get him back on the field to potentially make it worse. So I fully expect Jermaine Johnson to be good to go for week 1. But I don't think we see him much in training camp, nor do we see him in the preseason, which kind of leads back to something I've talked about a lot, which is they could really use another body at edge because outside of Will McDonald, it's kind of weak. Michael Clemens is going to be in the rotation. I know they brought in Rashad Weaver, who did pop off a little bit in minicamp and OTAs. I'd feel a little bit more comfortable if they had another veteran in there, an improvement at edge 3, who's probably, let's be honest, will probably end up splitting time in the first, few weeks of the season with Jermaine Johnson before Jermaine's ready to take over in the second half of the season. But something to keep an eye on, because again, Will McDonald, I have no issue with. I think he's going to be solid for the Jets this year. Had a 10-sack season a year ago. I think he, could put up double digits again. But it's a question mark who's going to be on the opposite side of him in training camp when Jermaine Johnson's on the PUP list. So we'll see. That's something we'll keep an eye on this training camp season. Let me know your thoughts on Jermaine Johnson. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe here if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.